I call to order the October 6th, 2021 meeting of the Monroe County Board of Zoning Appeals. Larry or somebody, can you do the roll call?
I will call the roll. Margaret Clemens.
Here.
Bernie Garitas. Skip Daly. Mary Beth Smarchek.
Here.
Vicki Sorensen.
Here.
We have 3 members and quorum.
Okay.
I move the introduction of evidence.
Larry, you want to do the introduction of the evidence?
Yeah, I request that the following items be introduced as evidence for the next meeting. Monroe County Comprehensive Plan is adopted and amended. Monroe County Zoning Ordinance has adopted and amended. Monroe County Subdivision Ordinance has adopted and amended. The rules of procedure of the Monroe County Board of Zoning Appeals, and the case is advertised and documented for hearing on tonight's agenda.
I move approval.
I second that motion. Larry,
Yes.
are we calling roll on that or are we just approving?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting multiple voice messages for some reason. The vote is on approval, introduction of the evidence. Margaret Clemens,
Yes.
Skip Daly, Mary Beth Marchek,
Yes.
Vicki Sorensen.
Yes.
The introduction of evidence is approved by 3-0 vote.
I move approval of the agenda.
I second.
I will note that we have some changes on the agenda. The Perry variance, which was old business, has been continued by the petitioner.
I move approval as amended.
Okay, go ahead.
I second.
I'll call a roll. Margaret Clemens,
Yes.
Mary Beth Smarchek,
Yes.
Vicki Sorensen.
Yes.
The agenda for the next meeting has been approved.
Okay. We ready to do the minutes?
I have no objections to the minutes. And I move approval.
I second.
It's been a move to approve the minutes from the May 5th, 2021 meeting and the June 6th, 2021 meeting. Vote in favor is a vote to approve both sets of minutes. Vicki Sorensen,
Yes.
Mary Beth Smarchek,
Yes.
Margaret Clemens.
Yes.
The minutes are approved by a 3-0 vote.
Okay. First up is has been amended and we have no old business as the new business. And the first case is case number VAR-21-43. And Tammy, I believe that's you.
Okay, so what we have here is the variance VAR-21-43. It's the Habig buildable area for 15% slopes to chapter 804. This is a 2.51 acre parcel in Benton North Township, section 28, located at 7467 North John Young Road. And it is zoned Ag Rural Reserve. So the request for this petition is one design standard from chapter 804 for steep slopes. The petitioner would like to build a single family residence, and that is a 1,763 square foot footprint, which is a 2-story that totals 3,484 square feet. They do have a permit already in the docket so that if this was approved, staff would be able to issue that tomorrow. If not, they would need to amend their site plan in order to seek approval or further approval for that site plan. As you know, buildable area requires that you not put structures on slopes greater than 15%. You'll see in the upcoming slides that they're proposing to put a residence on slopes that are greater than 25%, according to our LiDAR data. And because staff felt that there was a location that maybe was not as impactful that they could not issue the waiver through the Chapter 804 process. The property actually does have 2 approved septic locations. So the original septic location under permit 22057 was for 3 bedrooms, and staff figured out that the location of that is where they were then going to be proposing their home. So we couldn't have the septic or the home on top of the septic location. We sent them back to the health department where they received a new septic permit for a 3-bedroom located in a different part of the lot. So there was a delay from when this was originally filed as we were waiting for a septic permit to be granted. So again, this is located on John Young Road. You'll see, this is Lake Lemon, real close to the dam and the spillway area. And it does overlook the lake to some degree. It's quite forested currently. Let's see, so we have here is the site location. It comes in from a driveway, a shared easement, I would say, and it is a platted lot in a platted subdivision. There is some buildable area in the southern part of the lot. And this map represents all slopes that are 15% or greater. So the buildable area is really to the south here. This is a different map. Hey, Bernie just is coming on now, it looks like. This is a different map depicting the same parcel, showing a different array of slopes here. And you can see that there is like a road cut that comes through the property here. There actually is a little bit of a weird flat, kind of almost looks like a cul-de-sac that exists over here. It doesn't show it very well on this slope map, but on the staff site visit, it is very evident. You'll also note that right here is another driveway that comes down to a residence. And then the road that they use to access this site continues on down to the lake and serves another property up there that you can't see. Please note that over here, the red in color is actually slopes that are greater than 25%. And again, we're seeking, we're usually putting structures in locations that are blue or that light green color. So these are a few of the aerial photos of the site. So this is the area that's flatter, and the petitioner is wanting to seek to put the home here. And then this is just a little bit closer. They do have like an old shed and some trailers and things that are stored on the lot currently. So these are the site photos from staff. So this is that flat area looking west, and this is the flat area just as it starts to go north, like I'm facing south. So this is me like as it starts to slope down. This is that road that cuts through the whole property, and they would be, I believe, using this road to access according to their site plan, and then putting the home down here in this area. This is another view of me on the bottom picture. I'm standing on that little access road, and then the home would be down in here. And this is the Lake Lemon watershed. It is not currently protected. There are no restrictions from just cutting down vegetation all the way down to the lake's edge, frankly. Might need a grading permit to do that, but it's not like the Lake Monroe that has that eco overlay to it. This is the petitioner's letter. Hopefully you had a moment to review that in the staff packet and the staff report. And then this is the petitioner's site plan. It's nice that they submitted one that was engineered so that we could kind of get a sense of what's going on here. We have existing homes shown here and here. This is the lot where this is one of the septic locations that has been approved by the health department. The other one, again, was located under their proposed home. I think staff, frankly, would want to see a swap of this and would maybe have been able to issue a waiver they are depicting also this cul-de-sac, and we had discussions about that this would possibly be an appropriate location as well, since it already has been cleared and has been slightly graded on the site. Here you have that driveway access that I had a few pictures of. And again, the house is going to be downhill from that. And then there's another access road that comes along here and accesses some lake frontage and another residence back there. And to the right, I've just shown a blow up of that site where you can see the dimensions and the size of this just over 1,700 square foot footprint. That does not include the two parking area or the two parking spaces for their parking. They do depict the construction limits of the site. So with that, for VAR-21-43, staff does recommend denial based upon the fact that there are no practical difficulties. The slope issues can be reasonably addressed through redesign and relocation of the development and the building and the structure location. Does anyone have any questions?
Does the board have any questions
Tammy,
for Tammy?
Yeah, Tammy, this
Go
is,
ahead.
or Beth, this is Bernie. I just wanted to let you know I did jump on, and I do not have any questions at this point.
Great.
Okay. Any questions from the board for Tammy? Okay. Is the petitioner here and would they like to speak?
Yes, the petitioner's representative is here.
Okay. Would the petitioner's representative like to speak?
Adam would have to unmute. There you go.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, sir.
I thought you had control over the mute.
No, you had to. Could you please state your name?
My name is Adam Dick. I am the son of the landowner Barbara Habig.
Okay, do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed, sir.
Do you want the camera on or does it matter?
It doesn't matter, sir.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, my name's Adam Dick. I'm the son of the owner, Barbara Habig, and I'll be building or proposing to build a house for her. I do live right next door to this lot. I don't know. Can you see my cursor? I don't know if it matters. Tammy knows which house it is there. So I do live in the adjoining lot to this property that we're talking about here. I think it's important to note I've got no financial interest in this at all. I'm just doing this to build a spot for my mom. I'm not a builder from town looking to come out here and make a bunch of money or anything like that. My mom purchased this lot. I can't remember the exact date. It was a few years after I had purchased my lot in 2005 in hopes that if we ever had any grandchildren someday, she might want to build a house there to be closer to the grandchildren. And our daughter is now 2 years old, so that time has come. We've been working on this for about a year and a half or so now. As Tammy mentioned, where we'd like to put the house is in a area of a grade more than 15%. We think it's the best place to put the house on this lot. It was purchased before there was a 15% grade code law rule, whatever it's called. There are 3 other houses that were built around that area when those lots were purchased around the same time as we purchased this lot. And Again, they built before the 15% code came into effect. So, but they were all allowed to build on grades that are similar, if not greater, than this one. One of the houses there, they took out 250 to 300 triaxles of material right out of the side of probably a 40% grade hill, the steepest part of the whole area right there. We want it's important to note here that I do live right next door here. I live there full time. We boat on Lake Lemon. We love Lake Lemon. We fish, we swim, we boat. My daughter swims in the lake. We swim in the lake. I do not want to do anything to hurt Lake Lemon. I mean, that's where I live. I love it. When we're out boating, if there's a piece of trash floating in the lake, we pick it up. So when we construct this house, we want to do everything we can to prevent any runoff, drainage, anything from getting into the lake. So that's why we, of course, are going to use a silt fence. We're going to use every best management practices we can in order to prevent anything from getting into the lake. We think it's a short-term, problem. Yes, we're going to disturb a grade more than 15%, but it's not going to be left that way. We are going to do it as fast as we can. We've also come up with a lot of the retaining walls there. We're going to put in adequate drainage around the house, behind the retaining walls. And when we're done, we are going to replant, we're going to sod, seed, straw, and do landscaping, replant, everything to put it back to normal as quickly as possible. We're not going to overdig the basement. We're not going to leave big piles of dirt off to the side that can drain into the lake or anything like that. We're going to do everything we can to keep down erosion and prevent anything from getting into the lake during this building process. And we're going to do it as quickly as possible and get it all put back to the way it should be as quickly as possible. I guess you want to call it, the issue with the first building location that Tammy and I talked about is that when we originally looked at that one right there, when we originally looked at that, I think it's also important to note that is more of a grade than where we're talking about putting the house now, and that will require removing more material out of the side of the hill than where we're talking about putting it right now. But the issue we came up with when Tammy and I first looked at it, the site plan that we were using, they had the rear, I'm going to call it the rear, the opposite from the lake lot line. They had that setback at, I don't know, half of whatever it was supposed to be. So it appeared that we could fit the house there. Also, that flat area she's talked, that flat area there, half of that is fill. If you see, like on the south side where it's cut out from the hill, when they built that other house that's at the end of that driveway, they cut out that hillside and then just moved the dirt to the other side. So that really, like half of that area is fill, and probably really not the best place to build a house. So, and plus, if we built it right there, we'd be blocking the, neighbor's driveway, and I don't want to be, I'm on good terms with them, and I don't want to, block their driveway. So if we moved it into the hillside, there really isn't there really wasn't adequate room with how the setback is now. Again, when we first looked at it, it looked like a different story. So that's why we ended up moving it to where it is now. The other buildable area that Tammy mentioned on the south side up towards the, I guess, you know, if you want to call it the back of the lot there, is you know, basically it's just really, you can't see the lake from there. And to my mom, it doesn't make sense to build a vacation lake house that you can't see the lake from. I thought about that area, but the reason I don't want to put it there is because the area that we're proposing to put it, literally I've got to cut down maybe 5 to 10, you know, decent sized trees. I mean, I'm not really counting like little saplings or anything like that, but in the spot we're proposing to put it, I've got to, you know, maybe cut down 5 to 10 decent sized trees to get the house in there, and she can, you know, still see the lake. I don't really want to cut down a lot of trees. If I have to move it up to the second area, I guess, or with the other area that Tammy mentioned, the flatter area with the buildable spot, I'm going to have to clear cut the side of that hill to give her a lake view. She wants to be able to see the lake. I'm probably going to, I mean, I own a reclaimed lumber business. Part of the reason we tear down old barns and repurpose the lumber, part of the reason I got into that business was to repurpose older lumber and help take a little ease off of commercial, logging. So I really want to keep as many trees as possible around there. But if I have to move the house up to this other area, which, as Tammy mentioned, it's pretty flat up there. There's a buildable spot. I don't know, maybe I have to change the house around. I'll move it up there, but then I'm going to have to clear cut that, almost that entire hillside from that location over to my house on down to the lake. And we're probably talking in the neighborhood of 200 to 400 trees that are going to come out of there if I have to move it up there. And I will do it if that's what you guys want, but I'm really begging you, please don't make me do that. I would rather, I don't want to cut down all the trees, but she wants to be able to see the lake. So I can put it where we're proposing to put it, which is probably going to take out, like I said, a handful of trees, five to 10 probably. There's not really that many big ones right there in the spot. We will, like I said, do everything we can, from silt fences to drainage to all the best management practices we can to prevent anything from getting into that lake. We're taking out minimal trees, and we can put it right there where we're proposing, or I can move it up to that other spot and cut out 200 to 400 trees off that hillside. I'm begging you not to make me do that. I don't want to do that, but there's going to be a house going in there, one spot or the other. I mean, if we would have put it up in that other spot, I mean, we could have been almost done by now, I would imagine. That's why I didn't want to put it up there, because I don't want to clear cut that hillside. I've lived there since 2005, and there are still big trees on that hillside. As soon as my mom bought that lot, I could have clear cut that hillside to give my own self a view, but I didn't do it because I like how it looks the way it is. But she wants to see the lake, and I'll move it up there if you want me to, but I would really rather not. I'd rather put it where we talked about putting it. So that's what I got.
You're on mute, Mary Beth.
Sorry about that. Does any of the board have questions for Mr. Dick?
Mary Beth, I think I've got a couple of questions. So explain to me, and is it Mr. Dick? Is that correct? Or is it
That is
Mr.
correct.
It's not Mr. Habig, correct?
Correct.
Okay, sorry, I was having,
Yeah, no
okay,
problem.
thank you, sir.
No problem.
So talking about, first off, I'm just curious, the basement floor elevation, are you putting in a walkout basement?
Yes, sir.
Does it come off the lakeside, I'm assuming?
Yes, it would face the lakeside, yes.
Okay.
So, I don't know, can I, yes, yeah, right there. Would be the,
Okay.
yeah. So the first floor elevation would be similar to the driveway coming in, I guess, behind the house. If that's what you're asking.
Yeah, well, no, I was just making sure that it was looking at the elevations, that's what I assumed, but I wasn't sure, so I
Yeah,
didn't want to assume
okay.
that. And then tell me about the tree removal, and you did a very nice job explaining that. This is, and I may have missed it on the first part of Tammy's presentation, so Tammy, I'm sorry if I did. I'm sure you covered it. But this will be on a septic system, is that correct?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Dick? Okay, so
Yes,
tell me about,
it will.
the amount of trees that the amount of trees that you're talking about removing on the two different locations, does that include the septic field permit?
Yeah, well, yeah, there'll probably be a little more there for the septic, get the septic field in there. I wasn't taking that into consideration, but there's not, it'll be minimal up there. I haven't exactly counted that area to see how many trees we need to take out for that septic system. I'm guessing, you know, if I just had to throw a number out there, I'd say less than 10 decent sized trees up there.
So kind of the tree removal for the house and the septic it's still similar. I mean, the number of trees that you're preserving is a little bit of a factor to me by moving it down closer to the lake, especially if you've got a walkout basement.
Yeah, it's, I mean, then like not even, not even a comparison. I mean, like, 10,
Okay.
5 to 15 decent sized trees are, I wouldn't say more than 20 for the house and the septic field versus moving it up to that area. I mean, the tree removal is going to be in the hundreds, I'd guesstimate 200 to 400 trees.
And my experience is that a lot of times that, the trees can play a factor in the reliability of the septic system. The county health department will manage that, but I'm just saying that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do like I said, I'll do the least
Mr.
amount
Dickey,
that they.
Yeah. Okay. You answered my question.
Yes.
So the other question I've got is, have you selected, and I don't necessarily need to know, I guess, who it is, but have you selected a builder and an excavator for the work, or are you waiting to get the approval to understand who's going to be doing the work for you?
Are you talking about for the septic system or the whole project?
The home construction mainly.
I am, no, I have not yet. I'll be doing some of it myself. And it just kind of depends on how busy I am right now. I might end up, having somebody kind of take that over because I've been pretty busy with my business here lately.
Has Smith Design Group, are they, I don't see on the plan, at least I don't think I do. Have you developed an erosion control plan for the MS4 operator to approve and to look at?
what we have done is what you see on the site plan with the silt fence and the retaining walls, and if they're,
Okay.
you know, in the drainage, if there's something else that I need to do, I wasn't aware of it, and I was
No, that's
trying
okay.
to
I
think
just
of
wanted to double check
everything.
I just wanted to make sure you understood that, you know, that the MS4 operator would be somebody that would need to be involved in those approvals. And I'm sure that staff's already zeroing in on that. Just as a comment, I'm appreciative of the fact that you contracted a design professional to map this out and make the placement of your home and the improvements in a very calculated manner. So that's all I've got for now. Sorry to be so long there, Mary Beth.
No problem.
No worries, Bernie. Does any of the other board members have questions for Mr. Deck? Seeing none. Okay. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak on behalf of this petition? Not seeing anybody. Are you, Tammy? Okay. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak against this petition? Okay, don't see anybody. Is one of the board members ready to make a motion?
I think I can make a motion, Mary Beth.
Okay, Bernie.
Okay. Tammy, would you mind putting the agenda up on the screen for me so I can there you go. Thank you. Okay.
And
This is VAR. Go ahead.
Can anybody else hear Bernie?
no,
No.
Okay, so it's not me breaking up. Bernie, we're having trouble hearing you.
Well, I think I myself have some reservations about this because of the slope area. But I'm going to go ahead and make what I believe to be Bernie's motion. And that is for item number 1 under new business, VAR-21-43. And that is Habig buildable area, 15% slope variance to chapter 804 concerning 2.51 plus or minus acre parcel in Benton Township North, section 28 at 7467 North John Young Road. And this is a motion to approve based on practical difficulties, constraints, environmental constraints of the land, and also the mitigation techniques that Mr. Dick expressed about the tree removal. And also it's subject to the MS4 coordinators approval of an erosion control plan. And so that's my motion. Is that right, Bernie?
Yes, I am back. And Margaret, that was exactly almost to the letter where I was headed. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll second.
Okay, I will call the roll on variance 21-43, Habig buildable area variance from chapter 804. A vote in favor is a vote to approve the variance based upon the finding of practical difficulties, subject to the MS4 coordinators approval. And is that capture everything, Margaret?
Yeah, also the environmental constraints that this is the least harmful approach for the land in question.
Okay, I will, based upon practical difficulties and lessening of environmental constraints on the project. Again, a vote in favor is a vote to approve the variance. Margaret Clemens,
I'm going to vote yes.
Bernie Garitas,
Yes.
Mary Beth Smarcheck,
With reservations, yes.
okay, Vicky Sorensen.
Yes.
Variance is approved 4-0.
Okay, next up, we have case number VAR-21-56, tourist home / cabin. Drew?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, this is the Campbell Tourist Home / Cabin, condition number 48B variance, it's chapter 802. It's located at 3361 East Bolting House Road in Bloomington Township, section 2. So here we have a design standards variance for chapter 802, the purpose to convert a 3,400 square foot single family residence into a tourist home / cabin. According to chapter 802 of Monroe County zoning ordinance, the tourist home / cabin land use is permitted in the agricultural rural reserve zone, which this property is zoned, but it must meet condition number 48 in order to receive approval. The petitioner intends to meet all the requirements outlined in this condition, except letter B, which is listed here, that the tourist home or cabin shall not be located no closer than 200 feet from any adjacent principal use structure not currently being used as a tourist home or cabin, or from the adjoining property setback line if no adjoining principal use structure exists. Overall, if the variance is approved, petitioner must file for a commercial site plan with the planning department as the proper process to getting final approval for tourist home / cabin use on a property. Here I've laid out condition number 48, as well as the definition of tourist home or cabin. As you'll note, each of these letters with the green text are to be reviewed during the site plan, and as proposed, the petitioner appears to meet these minimum requirements for each of them. You'll note that letter C does not apply because they will not have any outdoor pool or spa facilities at this location. And then of course, you'll note letter B, which is the one that they are applying for a variance here tonight. Specifically, no closer than 200 feet from the adjoining property setback line if no adjoining principal use structure exists. So this property is a part of a platted subdivision. It's called the Campbell Minor subdivision. We'll look at that subdivision plat later on in this presentation. It's listed as lot number 2. It's right next to lot number 3, which is the same size, which is 5 acres. So 2 of the lots are 5 acres, and the third lot is a larger parcel that encompasses the both lot 2 and 3. So we'll get to that when we get to that plat document. But first, we have some site photographs. So here is the home on the site. It's 5 acres. This is the 3,400 square foot single family residence. There's also this detached barn structure on the same property. This structure we'll see when we get to the site plan is apparently encroaching onto the property line. We cannot confirm that without a certified site plan, as the Elevate parcel lines, Elevate GIS are not always completely accurate. They're not indicative of a official survey, but it does look very close. Here's another picture of that barn structure. Some open space to the left of this barn structure. Turning around from that open space area, we see the house again, and then just more open space area to the right of the house. And then from behind, and another view of the detached barn structure. Okay, so here we have the variance request letter to the Board of Zoning Appeals from the petitioner, stating that they are requesting the variance to convert to a tourist home / cabin. Here is the site plan that was provided by the petitioner. See here, the barn structure does appear to be encroaching, but again, we cannot confirm without a certified site plan or survey. Here's the home structure, and this long driveway comes south and then goes west through lot number 1 of the property until you reach Bolting House Road. So here is the plat document. You'll note lot number 1, the larger parcel. Bolting House Road is down here to the lower left-hand corner. And then this long easement comes through and up the hillside to reach lot 2 and lot 3. Lot number 2 is owned by Mr. Campbell, Gabriel Campbell. Lot number 1 and lot number 3 are owned by his parents currently. So there is some common ownership with all of these lots. But again, the tourist home is being proposed for lot 2. If we go back to the site plan, you'll note that only 70 feet from the shared property line between lot 3 and lot 2. And that should be 200 feet because there are no principal use structures on lot 3 at this time. The buildable area on lot 3 as well is pretty limited. I forgot to add a slope map to this presentation, but it is in your packet. It's only about this little area back through here. And then on lot number 2, the buildable area is goes through here. So it's kind of like a wedge look. So there is limited buildable area. If someone were to build on lot 3, they would likely have to push it pretty close to this property line. But again, this lot is owned within the family. So I can let the petitioner express the details of their future plans for this lot, whether or not they intend to sell or if they intend to keep with the family, I'm not sure. All right, so overall staff recommendation for this petition is denial, specifically criteria C, in that there are no practical difficulties as the use of this property can continue as a single family residence without the need for a variance. I will now take any questions.
Does the board have any questions for Drew?
I'll have a question for you, Drew. This is Vicki. Brought up about the barn a couple of times. Does that have any bearing on a decision to say yes or no to this variance?
It does not, because it's not related to the tourist home / cabin, particularly this variance. If they were to expand on it or do any other alterations to it that would affect the footprint, then it would need to get a side yard setback variance, most likely.
Okay, thank you.
As it stands currently, it's likely pre-existing non-conforming.
I've
Does
got a
the-
very, oops, sorry,
Go ahead.
quick question. So because the proposed structure is within 200 feet of the existing home, Drew, is that the issue with condition 46?
Yes, so it's condition 48, and it states a tourist home / cabin cannot be within 200 feet of another principal use structure or a property line of an adjacent property that does not have any principal use structures. So if there was a building on lot number 3 somewhere off in the distance that exceeded 200 feet, then this variance would not be necessary. But since there's no principal use structure and the buildable area is limited to an area that would likely not meet the 200 feet, we need the variance for this petition, the situation, and staff is recommending denial.
Okay, that very helpful. And I'm sorry, yeah, condition 48, excuse me. Yeah, I'm done, Mary Beth. Until we go a little bit further, I may be able to have my questions answered from the petitioners.
Any further questions for Drew from the board?
No.
Is the petitioner here and would they like to speak?
Believe that they are, let's see. Either Bethany
Hello,
Campbell.
can you hear me?
Yep.
This is Gabe Campbell. It's Bethany's computer, but I'm here to speak. Thank you.
Okay, Gabe, you stated your name already. Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I just want to take a moment to thank you all for the opportunity to speak tonight and consider our variance report. 3.5 years ago, my wife and I moved to Florida with our 3 kids. Up until this time, Monroe County was the only place we have ever called home. In fact, it's been home to our parents, our grandparents, and even our great-grandparents. So it was a difficult decision to move, and we made the choice to keep our house at 3361 East Bolting House Road and stay connected to our family and our community. For 2.5 years, that plan worked great because we had a long-term renter and property management. Everything was going well, and then the pandemic hit last year. And of course, it was tough on everybody. But we continued to pay our mortgage. We paid our insurance. We paid our property taxes, but weren't collecting any rent. And essentially, our hands were tied, and we couldn't do anything about it. So with what we're requesting is to go with option B, essentially in our plan, and that is to change from a long-term rental to a short-term rental and utilizing a professional rental company as well with that. By doing so, it'll allow us to collect rent up front, so we're ensured we get paid. With higher frequency turnovers, that means we'll have eyes on the property more frequently as far as cleaners and maintenance. And when there is damage, we can catch that quicker and get it repaired and have the responsible people held accountable. In addition, I think Monroe County, or essentially even the Bloomington area, could use other places for families to stay that aren't high-priced hotels downtown. Obviously, you can see from the property, there's a lot of open space for families to enjoy nature, and they can, get out and enjoy just the open space. So without your approval, our options become very limited with that. I don't want to forget my father, as long as he's still on the line with me, would like to speak unless he's left for church this evening, but he is available to comment, or should be. But a couple of things that Drew brought up as far as the property. The reason it's a Campbell Minor subdivision is when this property was one plat, the house was originally built, started to be built by a gentleman by the name of Art Lear. The house is constructed entirely of what's called rostra. It's a styrofoam concrete mixture that's made of recycled material. It has a very high R factor. It's a geothermal system. The roof's concrete. The second floor is concrete. There's still I-beams running through my house. It's a unique structure that I want to maintain and keep in our family. So it has a very small footprint. But in order for my wife and I to finish that house, we had to create, for the county planning department, we had to create this minor subdivision, and we plotted off a lot 3, a lot 2, and a lot 1 that remain. All those remain in my family's, ownership, my parents. So that's why there's one, those lots are like they are. As far as buildable area, Drew's right, it's on the top of a ridge, but that ridge in lot 3 actually extends all the way to the property line. And it's used, it's flat enough area for the power companies to come there and work their property lines, land helicopters back there and do whatever they need. And from what I just heard from Mr. Dick, buildable area is not a black and white situation. There are alternatives to that. We could, if ever a house would be up there, find it to be 200 feet away. Again, I'm not going to speak for my father, but at this point in time, he can correct me if I'm wrong. There's no plans for a home to be built up there. And the closest structure is nearly a half a mile away from all 4 sides. So with that said, thank you again for your time and consideration. Happy to answer any questions. And again, if my father's still on the line, he is open to, he might not be open to a lot of questions, but he is open to questions. So thank you.
I'm still here.
All right, thank you.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Campbell? No questions? Bernie, Vicky? Okay. All right. Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak on behalf of this petition?
My name is Steve Campbell, and I'm the owner of all that land around Gables. Can you hear me?
Okay, Steve, do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you, sir. Go ahead.
The whole point of me buying this property, Art built this house. It was hurricane or tornado proof, earthquake proof, and fire proof, but it wasn't cancer proof, and cancer killed Art. And before he died, he came to me and wanted me to buy this property, and it was adjacent to mine. And I ended up buying it off of him, and I was planning on bulldozing this building down. I hadn't even seen it. Well, when I went up there, it was a monster building, and it was built to stand anything that came, anything Mother Nature could throw at it. But that being said, Gabriel was the only one of my kids was even remotely interested in it, and he studied up there when he went to IU. And so when it was time to do something with it, I gave him the house, and I deeded him the property that it sat on. And Leah was the surveyor, and lo and behold, when he surveyed it, he got the house. He did that, the 5 acres, I think you're calling it lot 3 maybe. The house wasn't even on that lot. So I had to get him back and survey again. And that was, I think, whatever it was called, lot 2, where the house is at. So that's why those 2 lots are there. I had to get a lot for Gabriel where the house sat. So anyway, that's why there's 2 lots are there next to each other. And I just plan to give that 5 acre lot next to the storage barn to Gabriel's son, Griffin, my grandson, when he needed a place to build or wanted some property. That's the only reason it was divided like it was. But I don't know. But that house sits in, there was 80 acres. It's half a mile off of Bolting House Road. There's nobody can see it or throw a rock and hit that place. It's isolated. It's a wonderful place for people to come out that live in the city and be by themselves. So I don't see if you're worried about that barn being on the property line, I'll give him that property. That's no big deal to me. You know, you guys make such a big deal out of it being too close to the property line. I got the property. I'll give it to him if that's your big hang up. I don't understand what your problem is on, it's all my acreage and he's my son. I'd give him the rest of that property if that's what it took to get this variance through. So that's all I got to say, and I'm through talking.
Thank you, Dad. Love you.
I love you. Got any questions for me?
Mary Beth, you're muted.
Bad. Yes. Any questions from the board for Stephen Campbell?
Mr. Campbell, I'm sorry, Mary Beth, I've got a question.
Okay. Go ahead, Bernie.
Okay, so or I'll just call you Steve to keep it straight.
That's fine.
So
yeah.
lot 3 is vacant, is that correct?
That's correct.
Drew, would you put that, the sketch or the aerial that shows the distances that we're talking about? Bingo. So what is the line with the circle? What does that indicate on that drawing?
Bernie,
green
this
here
is
is the
Gabe.
septic. Go ahead, Gabe.
Yes, that's correct. It's the septic field.
Okay. So those lots are 400, how wide are those lots, east-west?
I want to say approximately, Drew, do you have that exact information?
It looks
No, I
like on the
don't. I don't know.
survey, they're each 416 feet approximately wide.
Okay, so 416 feet. So it's 260 and 80 is 340. What is the representation, the distance between those two black lines?
The distance here,
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure, but I can see what I can find on Elevate.
So it'd be 340 minus 416. Is that what we're looking at?
Yes.
Okay, so 70, so that, okay. So that area in there is 76 feet. So my question is, after that drawn out, I just want to make sure I'm right here. So what is the terrain and topography on the east half of lot 3? Mr.
Can you see
Campbell.
the screen?
What's that, Drew? I'm sorry.
Can you see this screen? Elevate.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is lot 3 here.
Okay. Understood.
And the colors that you see are the buildable area.
Okay. So the blue is the buildable area. Is that what I'm assuming to be correct?
Yes, let me pull up the legend here real quick. So blue is 0 to 12. And then the darker green is 12 to 15. So anything between 0 to 15 is classified as buildable area per chapter 804.
Okay. So 70, okay, so I'm trying to find a solution here and the proximity of the proposed vacation home to the existing home, is that a factor or is that not a factor?
The existing home is going to be converted into a vacation home. There's no other structure other than the barn.
Okay, and that was going to be my next question. So my question is, if they would put, if the petitioner would put a no build, if it's an as-built environment, we're not doing any extra disturbance. If there was a 200-foot arc away from the existing home, that would be a no build zone on lot 3. If the petitioner would be willing to make a commitment for that, would that be a solution?
I don't know that
Bernie, this is Gabe.
the petitioner can do that. It's not his property technically.
Not my, yeah, this is Gabe. It's not my property, but I'm not, if that's even doable, can it be undone in the future if I'm no longer a short-term rental and just a single family home? Will that allow anything to be built up there within that 200-foot variance based on county rules and regulations?
Yes, if you do convert from a tourist home / cabin back to a single family residential use, the 200 feet rule would no longer apply. However, if you ever wanted to go after a new structure was built, say within 200 feet, if you wanted to go back to either of them being a tourist home, you would have to go through the variance process again.
All right. Thank you,
Does that make
Drew.
sense? Yeah.
It does. We're learning every day, so I guess we'll be cognizant of that for future any future plans. But thank you.
So I guess my question would be, if the petitioner's father, who owns lot 3, and excuse me for, I heard that he would probably potentially convey that over, but if they would put a no build area on lot 3, then a variance wouldn't be necessary. Or would it? I guess it would, because it's still based on the property line in the ordinance. So, and Mr. Campbell, you have to understand what staff does is staff looks at these, reads the ordinance, understands what the ordinance is saying, and then makes a determination based on that. So the written document is what staff is referring to on the need for the variance. But if we could, if the petitioner would agree to put a no build zone on lot number 3, that would be 200 feet from any part of the existing home, and that would include, or pardon me, what would be the vacation home, and that would include any additions, anything that would go on it afterward, then we could probably craft that into a motion if the family would agree to do that. But that would be the solution I would see. And that's all I've got. Mary Beth, thanks for the indulgence as always.
No problem, Bernie. Anyone else have any questions for the petitioner? Okay. Or Mr., I'm sorry, actually that was questions for Steve Campbell. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak on behalf of this petition? Seeing none, is there anyone here that would like to speak against this petition? Seeing none. Does one of my colleagues on the board have a motion for me? Sorry about that.
I could make a motion, Mary Beth, but I need to know if, I mean, I don't want to go through the gyration of making this motion if the petitioner's father, who owns the property to the east, doesn't see that as a solution. So I guess I would ask Gabriel Campbell to confirm that with his father. Maybe Steve can answer that question now, because that would be the solution.
Dad, are you still on the line? Dad, can you hear me? Your phone's muted if you're not on the line. So, as I said earlier, I think they may have left for church.
Okay. Well, we can make the, go ahead. Oh, sorry, Mary Beth. Larry's got his hand up.
Larry?
Yeah, I wanted to, I'm not sure that the deed restriction satisfies the terms of the ordinance, Bernie, because it still would not be within it would still be within 200 feet of the boundary line. Now, it serves the purpose of the ordinance. I'm just not certain that it meets the terms of the ordinance. You know, the purpose of the ordinance is to make sure there's no tourist home within 200 feet of another structure. You know, Dave, do you have any thoughts on that?
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little nervous about requiring a different property owner to sort of pitch in. I mean, if the variance is justified, it's justified, but I think you have to make the decision based on the petition. And I guess I've never encountered anything like this before, so it makes me kind of nervous. I guess that's
Okay.
about the best I can say.
Okay, well, I can make a motion. If there's no further discussion on that. Thanks, that's why I was hoping to get a little input, guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I do want to offer a quick clarification, as I feel like there's been some back and forth. Letter B of condition 48, it states there's two things going on. It's no structure can be closer than 200 feet to the tourist home or cabin. And then no, if there is no other structure, then it has to be 200 feet from the setback line or from the property line. So since there is nothing there, it has to be 200 feet from the property line. But if there were to be something, then it would only have to be 200 feet from the tourist home or cabin.
Correct. Okay, I understand. Yeah, I understood that. Thanks, Drew. That was a great explanation. Larry, is your hand still up?
I'm sorry, it's not supposed to be. I'll try to lower it. There we go.
That's my world too. Okay. All right, Mary Beth, could you put the agenda sheet up again, please? Sorry.
I cannot do that, but I
There we
think you
go.
can.
All right. Yeah, there you go. Okay, I think because we've got an existing structure and, you know, my goal with my comment was just to try to find a way to kind of clean it up a little bit. But I do think this is a practical difficulty. It has to do with the economics of what we dealt with last year. I think the younger Mr. Campbell explained to my satisfaction that this is a situation that was somewhat beyond their control. And I think that it is a good sound structure. So doing any modifications to that structure or changing it, again, it's a practical difficulty because that was not the plan at the time. So in the matter of VAR-21-56, tourist home cabin, specifically condition 48B, I move that we approve the variance as I do believe practical difficulties have been met and subject to staff report and the findings of fact.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I will call the roll on variance 21-56, Campbell Tourist Home, variance from Chapter 802 Design Standards in regard to the distance requirement from the property line for a tourist home. A vote in favor is a vote to approve the design standard variance subject to the conditions of the report based on a finding of practical difficulty. Again, a vote in favor is a vote to approve the design standards variance. Bertie Garitas.
Yes.
Rebecca Smarchuk.
Yes.
Vicki Sorensen.
Yes.
Laura Clemens.
Yes.
The variance is approved by a 4-0 vote.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. You have a good day.
And thank you all very much.
All right. And next up, we have case numbers VAR-21-58A, VAR-21-58B, and that's you again, Drew.
Thank you. All right. So this is the Ganatra buildable area, 15% slope to Chapter 804, and the Eco Area 3, 18% slope to Chapter 825. This property is located at 3731 East Exeter Lane. It's in Bloomington Township, Section 26. So here, the request is for two design standards variances, one from Chapter 804 and one from Chapter 825. Purpose is to construct a new 420 square foot in-ground pool with an additional 400 square foot of patio space to surround the in-ground pool, as well as a 35-foot retaining wall. The petition site for the proposed location, I should say, for the new in-ground pool and patio space is located within Area 3 of the Environmental Constraints Overlay which protects against any land disturbance or vegetation removal in slopes greater than 18%. The proposed location of the in-ground pool area and patio area is located within slopes greater than 25%, as we'll note in the slope map to come. Aerial imagery also reveals some vegetation was removed from areas with slope greater than 18%, sometime between 2010 and 2014. So here's the location map. It's also a part of a platted subdivision. It's the Devonshire Section 1. This is lot 17, and I've also included the subdivision plat as an exhibit that we can look at in a minute. Here we have the slope map. So as you'll note, a lot of this area is greater than 25% in slope. The proposed location for the in-ground pool is to be 15 feet from the edge of pavement, approximately from where the driveway ends. So directly into this area here, along with the surrounding patio area and retaining wall. We do have a site plan that I was able to work with the petitioner to provide a little bit more detail than the original one that was provided in the staff packet, and we'll get to that here in a minute as well. Here we have some site photographs. This is the home site at 3731 East Exeter Lane, I believe. Yes. And then on the right side here, we have the driveway, and you can kind of start to see how the slope grades downward at the end here. So here's the corner of the driveway, end of the driveway, the slope down to the vegetation area over here, and then another good picture of all of that here as well. More images of the sloped area. Just kind of looking around to see how it grades downward. Some more area here as well. You can kind of see the general slope of the area in the rightmost photograph here as well, coming down to the tree line. More photographs here of the proposed area where the pool will go. And then a few more photographs here. So this one is just looking at about where approximately the pool might end. This is the back of the house here. And then on your right is turning to your left from this photograph. And it's the house is on the right side of you. And this is the septic tank. And then there's all of this area here as part of the property as well. Then just kind of walking back from back here through the property to get a better view of the area that's to the east of the house. Just a few more photographs here as well of that area. All right, so here's the aerial imagery from 2010. Some vegetation, as you can note, that was in the 18% sloped area. And then cut back a little bit here, you can see from the changes. And then here we have the letter to the Board of Zoning Appeals stating that they are requesting the buildable area variance as well as the Eco Area 3 variance for the purposes of constructing an in-ground pool. You'll note that this letter doesn't include any of the square footages. I had a communication with the petitioner to confirm those square footages through the OpenGov system and email. So I included it on the site plan to come. So here through my conversations, as I stated, they said approximately 15 feet from the edge of the driveway. They may push it back farther so that it cannot be viewed from the street, but it's going to be 30 feet by 14 feet or approximately 420 square feet, as well as an approximate length of 35 feet for a retaining wall. And this location of the retaining wall is just approximate as well. I'm not sure quite exactly where they would like to put it. But the petitioner did look at this and said that it looks fine for the purposes of the variance from their perspective. Here we have the Devonshire Section 1 subdivision plat. Their lot number 17, which is right up here. And it's kind of hard to see, but I zoomed in for us, and there is a drainage easement that goes through the back of the property or north section of the property. But this area will likely not be disturbed at all because a lot of the stuff that's going on in the property is more closer to Executor. So the home site is well outside of the drainage easement, as well as the proposed location for the in-ground pool. All right, so overall staff recommendation is denial for both the buildable area 15% slope, as well as the eco area 3 slope, specifically citing criteria C, stating that there are no practical difficulties. The use of the property can continue as a single family residence without the need for a variance, and the slope issues can be more effectively addressed through a relocation of the proposed development, building, or structure. Citing that there is other space on the property for a pool site that would not need the variance. And I'll take any questions.
Does the board have any questions for Drew?
Drew, could you show us other areas on the property where the pool could go?
So theoretically, there is area over here to the east of the property that is away from the septic field. You can kind of see the three circles here. That is where the septic field is located. And there's some buildable area that is not as intense of disturbance that is located in this section of the property.
Could you show us where an alternative septic field, if this one fails, would be located or sited?
I don't believe that I could. I know that for septic permits, it needs to be within an area that is less than 15% slope, but a soil test is required to make sure that the soil in that area is suitable for a septic tank.
So would it be safe to say that the area in blue might be an alternative septic field without having done the soil test?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are you guys still there?
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
Any further
Mary Beth?
questions for Drew?
Yeah, quick, go back to if you could, Drew, go back to your diagram that the petitioner approved of that illustrates the location of the proposed pool, the yellow rectangle. Okay, so when the petitioner speaks, if he or she, excuse me, can go ahead and answer or incorporate into what they're going to say, help us understand coming off the driveway, what the proposed kind of terrain will look like coming up to the pool. And obviously the pool is going to be flat for a distance, and then kind of what they expect the drop to be from the pool to wherever the ground line is going to be on the retaining wall. So kind of a profile of what you think from the driveway to the retaining wall, how those elevations are going to, and I don't need to know exact, I just kind of want to know what these elevations are relative to the existing TOA slope and then the existing driveway. Thanks, Drew.
Okay, any further questions for Drew? Seeing none, is the petitioner here and would they like to speak?
Yeah, we're here. Thank you so much for taking this on. And so
Could you please state your name and let me swear you in, please?
Okay, my name is Samin Ganatra.
I'm Brandon Vamos.
Okay, do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you. You can proceed.
So we bought our house in 2012 and always had the idea of putting a pool in. We have a large family and now we have grandparents living with us too. And we had a plan. So we didn't know about this rule. Of course, it came later. And so we have been talking with different pool builders about where this could happen. And I think I spoke to Drew originally almost, gosh, maybe a year ago or close to that. And, we of course we wouldn't want to disrupt the land in any way. The reason why we can't build it on the other side, the area that is buildable, is because Devonshire has pretty strict covenants about where structures can be, and we can't have anything facing the street. And particularly, we can't even have a fence out there that's 4 feet. And so we feel like that would be, not only it would be difficult to do that and not possible with the covenants as they are, but it would also kind of disrupt the way the neighborhood looks at the moment and the way that it's designed. So this spot was given to us by our pool builders that we were talking to as the best location that we could put a pool where it would still be not visible from the street. And there are many pools in our neighborhood, and they're built like this. So they explained to us that it would be an in-ground pool, but then kind of half in-ground, half out of the ground. And so the pool, there's a wall, which I guess is the retaining wall on the side. I hope that might answer the question that you had. Let's see what else.
There's also the fact that in our neighborhood there are no regulation fire hydrants, and so in talking to some of my neighbors, if there was a fire, a special truck would have to go to university school, which is a big delay. And I know a lot of our neighbors are in favor of having potential water usage through a pool in case of an emergency. So that was another reason we thought that would be in a way beneficial.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm having troubles with my computer, so I'm coming in on the phone as well. Hopefully it's coming through okay for you guys. Does the board have any questions for the petitioners?
I do, Mary Beth.
Go ahead, Bernie.
Okay, and pardon me, with a name like Garatos, I can understand, you'll bear with me, but Simin Ganatra?
Yeah, Simin. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. So you answered my question, I think, relative to the position of the pool to the ground line. So from the driveway, that 15 feet, what is going to happen is the existing ground line is going to slope down to the pool, and then the lower end of the pool where the 30 feet number is, that's going to be closer to ground line, or are you going to be filling up the side of the pool that's opposite the street and having a slope down to the retaining wall?
So the way I understand this from the pool builder is that, I hope I can explain this well, but the pool will sit, half in and half out of the ground. So where the slope is bigger, then that's where the wall will be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because the one thing I'm looking at, and I assume that you're going to be accessing the pool from the house via some sort of sidewalk or something coming out of the back of the house where it looks like there's a deck and a patio.
Yes, yeah, we'll probably just have a little bit of a pathway over to the pool. Nothing extensive. We don't plan on building a big deck or anything, just some, so we have some chairs around the pool.
Okay.
So as I understand, I'm sorry, Bernie.
That's okay, because I'm going back to where Margaret started with the septic. And, I think a pool can be part of the use on a house. I just do. We don't need asphalt driveways or paved driveways or the other things to enjoy living in a house. I understand exactly why staff has reviewed your petition this way, and they are spot on. But I think that the position of this pool is probably the least, my opinion is it's the least intrusive. And I think there are practical difficulties because I think having a pool with a house is okay. And I think leaving it, despite the covenants and restrictions at Devonshire, I think that that area up on the side of the house that Margaret was talking about earlier, it appears to me that's the true, that would be a better place to explore a future septic site than where this pool would be, or anywhere back on the other side. So I think leaving that area open for such things is probably a very useful idea. I think the other thing that I'm looking at, the way this is situated, it looks to me like it's the least intrusive path coming from the house up to the pool from the back where the family would access in and out. And the fact that they are already looking at putting in a retaining wall to stop and truncate that slope and reduce that that further disturbance back too far back on the other side, I think is also a bonus. I think that care needs to be taken with an erosion control plan. The MS4 operator needs to be involved in this to make sure that there's no issues with getting further down and getting erosion back into that drainage easement. So that's all I've got. Thank you, Mary Beth.
It seems to me as though the pool, the way that Samin described it, the part, they're not going to be disturbing the slope as much as the pool will be actually above that slope and then reinforced by the retaining wall. So you can see where this plan is that at least the beginning part of the pool is where this slope is not so steep. So I think that it might be the best place for this pool, and especially with the retaining wall. And the reason we're taking so much care about this is because we don't want you guys to have any further problems on your property with erosion and or for you to maybe cause disturbance in the other ecological area. But it looks like the pool builder did a pretty good siting of the pool. And I think that the plan actually might mitigate other problems, but they do have to probably engineer a solution for drainage off the driveway. But just be forewarned, that erosion on your land is something to pay attention to and to really study it before setting shovel into that.
Mhm.
Yes. No, we have been discussing that for sure.
Yeah.
Does the board have any further questions for the petitioners?
I have none.
All right. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak on behalf of this petition? Is there anyone here that would like to speak against this petition? Seeing that. Drew, could you do me a favor and throw back up that slopes map that shows where the pool will be located?
This one?
No, the one that actually shows the slopes.
Okay.
Okay. And point out to us again where the pool will be located.
So using the scale bar down here, which is about, I would say almost, if I were to move my cursor lengthwise, about that length. From the edge of pavement, it would be about to the tip, maybe a little bit farther north of the cursor line is where the pool would start. So
it would be in the 25% slope area then.
In this area, yes. It would be
Okay.
within this area.
Okay, because from the actual pictures, it kind of made it look like it was flat there, but it is not indeed flat. That is a 25% slope. Okay, I just
Right.
wanted to confirm that.
Based on how the slope is calculated, yes.
Okay.
It seems like the pool, to me, as though the pool is taking advantage of the slope, that it becomes a feature rather than a problem, you know, as far as disturbing the land, rather than digging a deep pool in a relatively flat area. It's taking advantage of the slope and putting it to use for the pool and disturbing less land. I may be wrong, Bernie, you're the expert on these things, you know, but it seems to me it's taking advantage and turning a problem almost into a feature.
Okay. All right.
Well, I think what impresses me, again, Mary Beth, indulge me, but I think what impresses me is that they've already considered putting in a retaining wall, which is typically something that is not forethought. The one thing I want the petitioner to understand is, you know, there's going to be some disturbance outside of that yellow box and that red line. So it's got to be put at a minimum. For instance, I think the area between the driveway and the pool is probably going to have a little bit of disturbance too. And I think that we need to understand that as we look at this. The other point I want to just, is a great illustration. Drew, if you would put up the picture of the slope from looking at the house from the driveway side as we see it in profile. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
No, back one more. One more. There you go, right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's basically where we're gonna where we see the rectangular box for the pool, or polygon from the pool. So that slope to me looks like that's an unnatural slope that was put in as a part of the function of the construction of the house. I have no way of knowing that. So I'm not making a statement to that effect, but that's a 25% slope. And look how vegetated, well-maintained, green, the grass is growing, and that is a 25% slope. So I think that with proper soil erosion control, stabilization, and mitigation, that the MS4 operator will oversee with an engineered plan from a licensed land surveyor or civil engineer, that erosion control can be mitigated just behind the retaining wall, the red line that's in the back. So I just wanted to point that out and make sure that the petitioner understands that the minimal disturbance is what is necessary. And if I make the motion, it's going to go along the lines of having somebody prepare an erosion control plan to be reviewed and approved by the MS4 operator, which is going to be an investment that you'll need to make in a professional to do that.
Hey, Bernie, are you ready to make a motion for us then?
I can do that. Would you mind putting the deal up on the screen there? Okay. In regard to case number VAR-21-58A, buildable area 15% slope from chapter 804, and VAR-21-58B, eco area 3 from chapter 825, I move that we approve the variance based on practical difficulties and the placement of the pool to be the least intrusive for future planning of the home, and where it sits today. Practical difficulties have been met with, subject to based on findings of fact, practical difficulties in the staff report, with the condition that the petitioner have prepared by a licensed land surveyor or civil engineer an erosion control plan to be reviewed and accepted, approved by the MS4 operator. That's it.
I second that.
Okay. Want to call roll, Larry?
Yes, and Bernie, just to clarify, this is for both variances, the same condition, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The votes on variances number 21-58A and 58B, the natural buildable area 50% slope variance from development standards in chapter 804, and the Ganatra eco area 3 18% slope restrictions to chapter 825. The motion was made to approve the variance. based upon the finding of practical difficulties and subject to the condition of having a certified site plan filed by a surveyor or engineer submitted to the MS4 coordinator for approval of a erosion control plan for the project prior to the issuance of an ILP. Again, a vote in favor is a vote to approve with conditions. Mary Beth Smartcheck,
No.
Vicki Sorensen,
Yes.
Laura Clemens,
Yes.
Bernie Garitas.
Yes.
Okay, the variances of both variances are approved by a 3-1 vote.
Great, thank you. You have a good evening. Is there any other business this evening? Anything from legal?
Nothing from legal.
Nothing? Okay.
Hey, Larry, I've got a question for Larry real quick, Mary Beth.
Okay.
Hey, Larry, when you read that, when you read the sentence for the first line on the variance on this last petition, how did you read that? Did you say natural buildable area or buildable, just buildable area?
Oh, Ganatra.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I struggled with that all evening. So thank you very much. I wondered that when I heard that. I thought that can't be right, but thank you, sir.
Okay.
And I have no announcements.
Okay, and I will make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All right.
Great
Thanks,
job,
everyone.
staff.
All in favor, say aye. Good
I
evening. Live long and prosper.